The Truth You're Told. Written by Michael J. Clark. Narrated by Saffron Henderson. Dedication. For Mom and Dad. And the Gift of Lake Life. Chapter 1. May 20, 1967. Somewhere near the Manitoba-Ontario border. The pliers were worn out, just like everything else in the 3-year-old Plymouth. Constable Jared Mullaney slipped, cursed, then cursed some more at the situation in front of him. A worn-out tripod stand for the radar array. The teeth in the pliers' rusty jaws were worn to the nub. The slip-joint slop rivaled that of the worst junk drawer tools. 2 of the tripod's legs were seized in place, thankfully at the regulation height. The third leg slopped in and out like a well-used trombone. The eye-bolt collar meant to secure it had reached the end of its cross-threading days. The Plymouth was still presentable, with black where there should be black, white where there should be white, and cherry red on top. Mullaney knew better. Unit 4 was the Kenora Detachment shitbox, a rookie car if there ever was one. The driver's side of the bench seat had been bent out of shape by the beefier members, sitting a good 3 inches back from the seldom-used passenger side. The seat springs couldn't be seen, though Mullaney could easily pinpoint their respective pressure points of torture, especially after the 3rd hour of his tour. The brakes. The brakes. Everyone warned him that they would pull during hard stops. They just failed to mention that they would switch the side of the car they pulled to without warning. Mullaney had started to avoid U-turn pursuits because of them. Mullaney knew that this was standard rookie fare, things that he had been warned about at the Ontario Provincial Police Academy. He had been with the Kenora Detachment since March. His home address in the mill and tourist town still read as the Kenrisha Hotel. There was bunk space available at the detachment if you didn't mind moving a few dozen boxes off the musty beds. The living quarters made sense for a smaller outpost, like Ignis or Vermilion Bay. The only time the boxes were shuffled was when a member was having trouble at home, or avoiding trouble at home. Mullaney had yet to find the one that he might eventually have trouble with. The night girl at the Kenrisha seemed pleasant enough, a stormy brunette with hazel eyes and small-town hips. On a scale of 1 to 10, she'd score a solid 7 among the stiff competition back home in Toronto, and could pass for an 8, maybe 8.5 in Sunset Country. That would change when the summer girls showed up, especially the ones from Winnipeg. The tripod continued to curtsy in front of the constable. Of all weekends, the May Long deserved better. There would be little interest in honoring Queen Victoria, and far more interest in getting to a cabin or campsite during daylight hours. There was nothing worse than having to unload a long weekend supply of Labatt's, hamburger buns, and lawn darts down a slippery staircase of moss and timbers in the dark. Something would get dropped, usually the beer, or worse, the Crown Royal. It had happened enough that most cabin dwellers were keeping their speed at a steady 10 over, 20 over if the driver had sprung for the big engine on the family car. These were some of the easiest pickings that any speed cop could have, if the tripod weren't aiming the radar beam into the ditch. Mullaney went to the open trunk. He rummaged through the various bags and boxes, deciding on something that he knew he shouldn't. The thick bandage tape in the first aid kit. He hoped that he could get through his tour without using it, though the morning briefing had said otherwise. The sergeant had passed out color glossies of previous May Longs, the blood-red aftermath of speeding cars taking on the unforgiving rock cuts. Mullaney kept his bacon and eggs below decks, though just barely. He couldn't argue with the stats. Someone was going to die on Highway 17 this weekend. Probably more than one. The ones on the edge would be needing that tape. The afternoon sun shone hard on the constable's shoulders. The Plymouth hid in the shade, which gave Mullaney a welcome relief from a day that had punched into the low 80s.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?